Where did the name Trinity originate from?
So Trinity. So if we go back to the start, so me and my dad started this brand together at the end of my 2024 prep or 2023 prep. We kind of for ages said we wanted to do something. We weren't sure what it was going to be, if it was going to be supplements, if it was going to be clothing. We had no idea what it was going to be. Um, and then we were like, okay, we went clothing. And from there we were like, okay, we need obviously name, we need logo. Um, and we kind of realized we kind of had the logo ready because in 2021, my first prep I did, both me, my dad, and my older brother, we all got the same tattoo. So that might look a little bit familiar.
Sick.
So
Yeah.
from there, we were like, we've kind of realized we kind of created the logo already. And then we were like, name, we're like, okay, so there's like a trident, so try, and then the symbol around it is the unity symbol, Celtic symbol, which basically means father and son. So from there we were like, okay, that kind of mixes, so Trinity. So that's kind of like how it was born. So it's very, very like very wholesome
Very
way.
wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that whole the unity vibe, because obviously you and your dad starting the brand together, so the meaning of the logo, meaning dad and son, father and son, is really, really sick.
Yeah.
So
But yeah. Got a
you
very special relationship.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good. But you obviously mentioned that you were thinking about doing something, whether it was supplements, clothing. How did that come about? How did you know that that's the space that you wanted to go into?
Um, so for me, it was a case of for years I've always been obsessed with kind of clothing, not necessarily fashion, but like just clothing. Like growing up, I was obsessed with Nike. If I went to a Nike store, I would literally like if I wanted to buy the money, I would have spent thousands of pounds because I was obsessed with like all the new technology coming out for clothes, and like football boots, and like I was just so interested in like the technology, the design, and like how comfortable it was, how like it could help you perform. So I was always obsessed with like at one point I was like, oh, I want to go to uni and do this. Unfortunately, I've not got the IQ for well, like let's just say I haven't got the book smarts for university. So that dream got snuffed out real quick. But that was when I was like 13, 14, 15, 16. And then it kind of just looped all the way back around again. And I think clothing is quite an easy market to get into compared to other ones because if you want to start a clothing brand, all you do is you go onto Alibaba, you find some samples, you kind of come up with some designs, and from there it's pretty easy. Versus supplements is it's a much harder business to get into because trying to find like manufacturers and like the products themselves are a lot harder to develop. Put it that way, flavorings and all sorts. Like I've got no idea how to do that. Versus I knew for years like because I used to watch like on Max Tuning back in the day when he was obviously like the Ghost, like 2016 days. And he always said just Alibaba and that's how you start. So I kind of always knew that was how you kind of get into things a bit. So that was kind of why we chose clothing. We came with all sorts of ideas. I mean, we were like, do we just do like small like things like mugs and like shakers and like just small accessory bits? But we were like, that's not really a business. That's kind of like more of like a Amazon store thing. So we're like,
Hmm.
let's start something like actually proper.
Yeah, and like we were speaking about beforehand, obviously 2024 being kind of the first you initiated it with giving out the vouchers and stuff like that, as you said. I really like the whole ethos about giving back and giving back to the community and having that whole giving the winners get gift cards and stuff like that, and allowing you're almost giving an opportunity to some of the top guys to represent your brand and show it off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And it was a case of we wanted to make it really special. Like we didn't just give out the voucher themselves. Like we actually spent quite a lot of money on the vouchers because we were like, let's make like winners checks, like let's make amateurs feel like when they win a British final, like they're winning not an Olympia, but like they're winning like a big show, like New York Pro or something, like they got like a winner's check, they got their medal, they got their trophy, we wanted to really add to that experience because we know we've got people who've told like they've gone home, they've like put it on their walls, they've got to like, put it in a frame and stuff. So like with their medals. So it just kind of really added to the experience as well. So it wasn't just the fact of like the clothes, it was really kind of like establishing ourselves with like very quickly with like the sort of brand we are. And that's a brand that just cares not only just about like obviously like eventually us sponsoring pro shows and these Olympians, but also making sure from day one that we also take care of the guys on the amateur level, because ultimately it's the amateurs who filter up to the pros don't filter down, you know. So that's where you have to work down and up, you know. People always think, okay, let's sign the biggest possible athlete I can find who's willing to take a chance on my small brand. But reality is that's probably not going to happen. So if you take too long just like chasing these, you know, these representatives, these influencers, you know, sometimes you might get lucky, or you might end up like reaching too far. You end up signing someone not knowing enough about them, their personal history and stuff. Because like I'll do a lot of research into the guys I sign, because last thing I want is to have some kind of like find out, oh, they're not a nice person, or like this or that. Like I want to be very sure that if I sign someone, it's because one, they're someone I can see myself being like friends with, but also like I would back them, you know, in terms of the sort of person they are. Like, you know, are they good to people? Like, do they speak to people at expos? Because it's not just, as I said, it's not just about kind of getting someone who's super influential. It's about getting people who eventually, when they do get to that level, you know, at least they're you know, they're good eggs. Because unfortunately in this industry, they're hard to come by. Like there's a lot of as we know, there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of drama for no reason, but that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, you got to filter through the bad to find those kind of those good guys, and obviously over time, if they're the right guys. I mean, like we got tons of guys in our team. Obviously, you've obviously interviewed Harry and stuff. Like we've got
Mhm.
guys who will get to that level at some point. You know, they're not, you know, they're not slackers. Like they are pro card worthy guys at some point. So we'll we'll sign them long term, and then hopefully they'll take us there as well.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's creating those role models. It's fine tuning people who will represent your brand in the right ways. And like you said, they don't have to be these big influencers. They don't have to be these massive people. It's just about knowing that what they're doing and the hard work they're putting in is going to inspire others and represent your brand in the values and the way that you want to hold the brand, right?
Yeah, correct.
How long you been in the business now? A year? Just over a year?
In clothing, so we technically launched March of 2024. That's when we dropped the shirts, the Origin shirts. We then signed our first round of the athletes in July time, and then we had the actual first proper drop in October of 2024 with the PCA finals. So that was
Mhm.
kind of like my dad like doesn't like to count the us starting in March, because like at that point we were like really not established at all in terms of like we had one shirt and we didn't even have any athletes. So it wasn't until that kind of like said summertime to then when we got to kind of like finals, that's when we, I would say, we really actually started things.
What lessons did you learn starting out? Like, what was the most important lessons you learned?
Oh, I mean, put it this way, the clothing industry is something that I would not say is for everyone. You will spend a lot of money and you will waste a lot of time. I mean, there's countless things. I mean, we're the way we do our products. I'm actually going to make probably a reel on this soon, just to kind of like explain, obviously, for people who either want to start their own brand, also just for people to see the sort of detail that we go into. We don't do things the shortcut way. Like, so we work with a company out of Lebanon who create tech packs, and obviously tech packs is what you send to your manufacturer to create your clothes. So tech packs can be varied in like detail and stuff, but we decided to go, we're not skipping a beat, we're going to go straight for top guys. So these guys work with like Alpha Elite and stuff to create their tech packs. So we didn't skip on obviously the details. These tech packs are like, one, they're expensive, two, they're insanely detailed. So all of our clothes, literally, when we say to the millimeter, they are literally to the millimeter how we design them. So we can literally choose what measurement from literally top of a shirt to bottom of a shirt, what it ends up being. The exact material, the exact weight, everything. Um, so that's kind of like how we'll do things. So it's a very long process, and
Mhm.
we had no idea the lingo and so on and so forth. So we had to kind of like really kind of get up to scratch along the way, learn when the time was to like, because there was definitely times where we could have maybe made the process faster. We really lingered on things, which ended up not mattering a lot. So
Mhm.
over time, you just learn to make your process faster, because from the moment we decide to do a drop, we make our designs and we actually go to what we like kind of like we back and forth it, and then we go to the like the tech pack guys. From that process, it'll take maybe like it could take maybe like 2 to 4 weeks for us to actually finalize, maybe even longer to finalize actually what we want, because obviously once you locked it in, you can't go back. So you had to be, as I said, you had to be very careful when the time is to kind of like be patient when the time is okay. We need to kind of get these changes going along. And then
Mhm.
from there, we send it to our manufacturers. 8 weeks for production, and then it will take well, 8 to 12 weeks production. Then it can also then take, depending on what form of shipping you do, anywhere from between two. If you do 2 weeks, if it's by air, but that's incredibly expensive, or you go by
Yeah.
sea, and that takes another 8 weeks. So you can see
Mhm.
it's just such a long process if you do things like the proper way. So you think when you see these people like VQ and like Young LA doing drops like every other week, I'm like how far like how do you do that? How far in advance are you? Like,
Gotta
have
be
you got
planning everything.
yeah, exactly. So it's like I don't know what they do for their processes, but I can't imagine something too dissimilar. But I imagine they probably have someone in house who does all their stuff, so it makes it obviously a bit more of a seamless process. Um,
Mm.
so I would say like we learned the lesson because we almost we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit by going so proper so quickly, because I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people said do the apart from our first shirts, everything else has been via this process, but everyone else does this
Mhm.
at the Alibaba. Like you'll probably come up with some design on like Canva and then you'll convert it. So I definitely think if you have the ability, definitely try and like invest quickly into your process, because it
Mm.
ultimately will deliver you a better product. But in the process, you might, as I said, learn a lot of lessons the hard way. But I think hard lessons are much better because that way, obviously, you actually stick to them. Versus if you make easy mistakes and you don't, and you just don't learn from each time, it's not as much of a ramification. So
Mhm.
like yeah, I'd say like like learning to invest in your process is probably your first port of call in terms of lesson. Um, any other lessons in particular? I mean, like there's loads. I mean, I don't
We
even
could
know.
talk for hours.
Yeah, honestly, I could go on and on. Like we made loads of mistakes. I mean, like um, even like it's even such things like expos, like learning to be way more prepped than we were. Like the first expo we did was, it was me and my best friend Cam, who's our videographer. But you probably know Cam now actually because he trains at Full Motion.
Yeah, I'm training with them today after this.
Oh, nice. So that means
Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
So for Cam, so literally we packed up my little Fiesta. We literally like shoved it full of like tons of clothes. It was like
Mhm.
bursting out things. We couldn't even pack our own bags. We had to put our like our wash bags and our loose clothes in gaps around stuff just to fit everything in. It was terrible. We did that till like 1 a.m. on the Thursday night to set up on the Friday
Jesus.
morning. And then we went to set up and I had a bloody nail in my tire somehow from some points. So like we then had to like limp to like we had to find out like can we even drive the car? So we had to limp to we needed to limp somewhere we could get like my tire fixed. Luckily it was like a 20 quid fix, so I got thank God. And then we get on the road and we hit traffic. And then we finally by the time we arrive at the center for the actual expo, we had 1 hour to set up. But we'd never set up a booth before, so we had no idea what and again, we went quite large because my auntie works for a company that's associated with F1, so she has like a lot of access to some pretty cool things. So we had
Mm.
these cool banners made for our first ones, which are like drop down banners. But like we had to like stick them to the shell that was like for our thing, but we had nothing to stick them to. So we were like, how we didn't really even think that part through. So it was just a nightmare. So we had to wake up at literally like 6 a.m. the next day to get there and like basically set up and open as the actual show started. So just stuff like that. It's just funny. Like we laugh about it now, but like at the time it was like stress central. So it said you'll learn a lot, but you also laugh a lot along the way, which is the main thing. Because obviously if you only take it, it's only a bad experience if you don't learn from it, and you can laugh about it after.
Yeah, you make mistakes to learn, don't you? Touching on what you were saying about kind of no one goes all in like you have. I think that's probably one of the reasons why you've been so successful so quickly, and the reason why you have stood out. And I think it's the same with me with this podcast. Obviously, my aim was to churn out as many as I could, and it is kind of like I don't want to be the person that just drops one every other week or every week. I wanted people to see me and recognize me and realize like, oh, this guy isn't playing around. Like, hence why I've been doing like 3 a week. And I'll get messages from people like, you're churning these out. I'm like, yeah, but that's what stands out. And I think with social media, especially, you need to stand out in order for people to recognize the name and remember it. And then when someone brings it up in a conversation, you'll be like, oh, Yeah, I know who they are. I've seen them. I've seen them.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I had I just as probably you had no idea who I was up until a certain point. Like I had no idea who you were, and then all of a sudden, like, you see, interview Charlie, who's like one of my best friends. You interview Harry, interview Kyle, who goes to my gym, who's he used to coach one of my best mates. So I was like, it's like, hold on a second, like, how do you know Kyle? How do you know Charlie? Like, all of a sudden you see this map, and then I feel like what's quite cool in this industry, or this, like, at points it can be a community, is you'll by some association that, like, meet so many different people. And then you meet more people, and it's a network, and it is cool to see. And as you said, like, if your unique selling point is churning out, like, especially a podcast, because there's only so much you can do to be unique because it's a podcast.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
ultimately, you said your first step is just high volume, good guests, um, and just keeping that going. Because, like, I mean, I know podcasting can be one of those things. It's a slow start, but then one of those things where once you kind of establish yourself, and you get those weekly listeners, they don't leave because they like what they're hearing. So, and same thing with clothes. When people buy clothes, they like the clothes. They usually keep coming back. But obviously, the difference is with clothing, it's a bit of a different thing because it's a commitment because you're buying something, you're spending your money versus something free as a podcast. At least you're not having to, like, as you said, do some crazy advertising or marketing to try and leverage yourself against other podcasts. So it's not
Yeah.
quite like that. So you're just fighting for
No.
people's time.
Yeah, and in a fairness, I put myself under a lot of pressure because I started to get some big names quite quickly, and it's like, okay, right, how can I keep this level going? How can I keep
Tim as
this
well. How did I forget?
interest going? But
Yeah,
yeah,
interview Tim as well, didn't you?
yeah, interview Tim, yeah,
Again,
interview
Tim's someone I know
Jace,
I've known Tim for like 5 years. So
yeah,
I've
it's
known him since.
crazy.
Yeah, he was best friends with the guy I went against in my very first show who trained at the same gym as me. So I mean, he's weird. This industry is weird how all of a sudden you'll get these, like, these.
Everything's connected.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, But yeah, touching on, like you were saying about the, obviously with the podcast, we don't necessarily do advertisement, we don't necessarily do marketing, but Cam being your best friend is an insane videographer and photographer, and you've put out some insane trailers and ads and drops. Talk to me a bit more about that.
So yeah, I'll give Cam his dues. So Cam's been my best friend since we were in secondary school. So I've known Cam for a very long time now. So yeah, I mean, when we started off Trinity, like, I was doing a lot of it myself because I had a camera because I did slash still do obviously my YouTube and stuff. And, like, I was so, like, I was pretty good at what I was doing in terms of, like, the vlogging and editing for myself. But then when I kind of got to the point where, like, we need to start, like, doing, I need to have someone kind of, like, on board who kind of takes care of those things. Um, and Cameron he didn't even have a camera at the time. He was kind of just, like, messing about and stuff. And then I think it was, like, towards the end of my first prep, he bought his first camera. Um, and he took a couple of pictures and bits and bobs, but, like, if you compare them to how they are now, obviously that, like, he was there so the crap, but
Hmm.
he had a passion to want to learn and stuff. And he had talent, but he just didn't know how to use it at that point. And then from there, over time, it just kind of got, like, we had with the first ever shoot we did, we had him and another guy. And then I paid the other guy, I didn't pay Cam because obviously he's just kind of gaining experience. I ended up liking Cam stuff more than I like this other guy stuff. So that part I was like, okay, well, I'd rather give my best mate an opportunity to kind of, like, start kind of, like, honing his craft, and for him to give opportunity, because the only way you learn with that sort of stuff, obviously, just like anything, it's just repetitive, repetitions on and on and on again. So, and then from there, over time, he just kind of got better and better and better and better, and he started investing more and more. And then would have been in 2020, start of 2024, we kind of did a UK tour of our athletes. So we kind of went over the country, from south all the way up to north, shooting them at literally, like, sometimes every weekend for like a month, 2 months, like, or every other weekend. And I think that really helped him, like basically, like, farm experience points really quickly is a good way to put
Hmm.
it. Um,
XP farm.
exactly, yeah. And then he was just getting, and just got each shoot just got getting better and better and better and better, like, really quickly. Now I look back at it. Um, and then yeah, it was a case of, like, we had a conversation, I think New Year, start of 2025. And I was like, I think you should like kind of like really kind of start putting yourself out there a bit more. Because the thing with the Cam is like he needs to have way more self belief than he does, and he's only really kind of getting it now. I kept pushing. I was like, dude, you need to do this. Like, like you can't, if you want to start like actually having a career, you got to start, you got to start actually putting yourself out there. Like, it's great me paying you like here and there for the occasional shoot, but you need to like you have the, like you've got the tools,
You
like
got the talent.
yeah, you got to just start doing something. Um, and I think, and that's where we kind of came up with his name. We kind of like back and forth. There, he came up with the CJ Flex Films, and then I was like, you should do this, you should do that, because I've had quite a lot of experience, kind of like doing business and stuff. Because I mean, like I created my first coaching business when I was like 17, and like I mean, on and off doing some kind of like business of my own sort. So I kind of have experience. You're like, okay, make a bank account, set your Instagram, like just all these processes, we back and forth it, and then eventually he's now kind of really kind of like got his own system down and stuff. And yeah, and then just over time it's just gone better and better. And I mean, like, I'm insanely proud of him because um he's now at the point where like like it's not like me just being like, oh, I know this guy, they're looking for someone, I'll send like I'll put you forward as a suggestion. Now he's getting people in the industry who are known messaging him, asking him, for to like to be booked in. So I mean, like, I can't wait for him to continue to get better and better and better, and kind of be in those conversations with those Coopers, the Mancusos, like those kind of guys who are really like separating themselves in that kind of videography space in the UK. Because I feel like it's quite, they're very good at their jobs and stuff, but like I don't think there's actually a ton of guys who stand out just like they do. That more cinema
Mm.
style things, which people like, because there's a weird association with like cinematography in terms of like Interstellar, and like in terms of the music and the films with bodybuilding. I don't know why. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like whenever there's like a big film, like when Oppenheimer came out, like the soundtracks, like, well, I don't know why bodybuilders have such an association with that, but like they love it.
Well, you look at all of like bodybuilders' posing routines, and they're all like that interstellar sort of theme. They're like
Exactly.
slow, they're like magical, and I get it's meant to be like beautiful and showing off. But I really like Cam's style in terms of there's lots of light leaks, there's lots of quick shutters, there's lots of movement. I think that's a bit more interesting because it keeps your it keeps your attention, it keeps your eye moving, it keeps you focused on the point, which is obviously Trinity. But even when he does like the photo shoots with Charlie and he has like the ring lights and the light leaks that way, I think the way that he stands out as an individual is very, very interesting. Is like even when I'm just scrolling and say, for example, a Trinity ad comes up and I don't see that Trinity is the ad at first. I know it's Trinity from like the way that the ad moves and the way it looks. And I think that's what's really cool about what his stuff. And well, it's the reason why I'm training with him, because obviously I want to do work with him in future, but I want to get to know him on a personal level and train with him. And the opportunity's there because he trains at my gym.
Yeah, I do.
Um, but it's kind of like knowing the face behind the brand, but knowing how much effort you can see how much effort he's putting in. And like you said, the repetition over and over and over is the reason why he's getting so good. And I think now, like you say, he's slowly getting some confidence in himself.
For sure. And as I honestly think it will not take long for him to kind of shoot up in that scene. I mean, he'll be doing all my show days and stuff. So obviously, if anyone obviously is interested in kind of like seeing the sort of things he's capable of, I think that'd be a good opportunity, because we wanted to do sort of like, because I'm too busy to do like multiple videos a week and stuff, or like even like 4 videos a month. So like we're just doing one a month leading up into shows to try and do like more of a documentary style things, which I think will be, because he wanted to have something where you can really just kind of display all like shades of the rainbow per se of his obviously kind of his wheel, because you kind of got the more montagey stuff, you got the more cinematic stuff, you got the like the more like raw vlog style content, and like by doing these kind of longer form videos and obviously kind of across like loads of different styles of videos as well, he can show every single kind of thing a person would want in their videos, because you got some guys who like just the really raw content, but you got some guys who like the really hyper edited like style, obviously videos. So this will be obviously a perfect opportunity for him to kind of display that. And I mean, I'm sure there'll be other people booking him this summer after seeing some of the stuff he's doing. So yeah, I said
Mm.
it won't take long for him to really kind of like establish himself and really kind of get his feet under him. I mean, shooting for like Jack Eagles and stuff already is obviously just a like a medal for him.
Big thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's only just a start for him. So we just as we go along and get better, I'm sure he will as well. There's no doubt about that.
When you were designing the trailers and the adverts, what was your intention behind them? Were you designing them specifically to stand out? Were you designing them in sort of inspiration from other brands, or was it trying to be as unique as you can?
So I think we always try whatever we do to be as unique as we can. I think the moment you start trying to be something that you're not, obviously, is when you get kind of caught out. Now, if you being unique ends up also like if you being your own personal self ends up being similar to another brand, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you end up actually intentionally copying, I think that's where you kind of get to catch people out. And I think with the trailers especially, so Cam obviously will do a kind of the videography work, but the actual like graphic design we work like especially the movie stuff, we work with another guy who does stuff for Train by JP. He's very, very good as well. And we kind of like we kind of sacked off the idea of like making something that would be really algorithm friendly, whether that's good or not. We just want something that just looks really, really, really fucking cool. So like when we did the Flex Club one, like I remember I sat there, I was like, okay, I got an idea. I was like, okay, I want like Harley bike, and I kind of want like Trinity like somewhere like I kind of, and then we kind of worked back and forth for that. And then even for like the INU stuff, we were like, okay, like retro TV, some Dorian in there, something really like kind of open to interpretation. So like it really allowed me to kind of like get my creative, um, brain out because that's why I love all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we
Hmm.
we definitely sacked off at making anything solely focused on being like algorithm friendly. We just wanted something that just looks really cool because we thought, okay, well, ultimately people go back and scroll through the account, if they're already interested and they click on that, it's probably going to stand out way more than us making a really like conducive ad
Mm.
to sales.
So it's creating something that isn't necessarily, it's not going to be, it's not going to go super famous at the start and stuff like that. It's more so people who are interested in the brand and click on the brand and view the brand, then they'll see that and be like, oh shit, this stands out. I like this. This is cool. It's different.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, hopefully that's what happens. Will it bite us in the a little bit? Maybe, I don't know, but I don't really care at this point. I just kind of want to make stuff that I'm like happy with and proud of than
Mm.
selling out per se. Like I've got such a big thing about staying true to kind of like who we are. Like I will, no matter how big the brand gets, I will be at expos. I will always be like on the ground. Like I would always be involved in the design process. Like I would never, no matter how big things get, I would always want to be kind of in the forefront. So for me, like the sellout thing is like such a big thing for me. Like there's been like I'm not gonna start naming names because I don't want to be doing that. But there's so many athletes who I think have just taken a paycheck. Whether it be between clothing, sponsor, whatever. And I just want to make sure that we stay, very true to ourselves all the way through.
Mhm.
Again, not signing people for numbers, not making clothes because they'll sell, but just making clothes because we think they're really, really cool. We like them. Signing people because we think they're really cool and we know they like the clothes. And ultimately, like you'll weather a storm, a lot longer doing it that way than just slapping people on board for the sake of it, like having people who will be there for a long time. We don't want to sign people who will be there for like 6 months, or a year, and then we're okay, who's the next guy? Who's the next guy? It's why we never expand our athlete team more than I'd say maybe like 15, 20 people, which we
Mm.
wouldn't do. I don't want to like just completely water down people's code uses and them just be codes. I want people be able to like if we've got 15 athletes and they all have a code, there's only so many code. Like there's only like the audience in this industry is only so big. So
Mhm.
last we want to sign so many athletes, you end up having to cut 10 because 10 other athletes are stealing their code uses because they just got more numbers. So it's about making things as fair as possible as well for the athletes. Because yes, I want to have our guys like be competitive between each other, but I don't want it to be like I said, like a straight business. Like you're not producing numbers and we're going to cut you because you're not producing numbers.
I love that. I really do because it goes back to, even like I said, you started your coaching business in when you're 17, it goes back to then. It's like when you start out in coaching or when you start out anything, if you have the passion for it, if you have the drive for it, the money is just a byproduct which helps you get more. Um, but the actual drive for you, the actual reason you do it is purely the love of the game. And I think that's kind of the ethos behind bodybuilding for 99% of people. I know there are some people that are different, but I think it's the same with me. It's like you get mentors coming X, Y, and Z. You got um, people trying to boost your ads. They're like, "Oh, do you want more engagement with your post?" And it's like, I really care because I don't. The thing that I've been saying to people is they question why I've niched down into bodybuilding so quickly into my journey. It's like I don't care whether or not I have 8, 10, 20 clients right now because I'd rather have slower growth over a 2-year period and actually have every single person that joins me wants to join me instead of me outreaching to 200 people per day and spamming people in DMs trying to get them to join me as clients. Like, I don't want that. I want people to invest in me. And it's kind of another reason why I started the podcast is I love sharing people's stories. I love talking to people. But at the same time, I love people being invested in, oh, who's he going to have on next? Who's he going to talk about next? What's the next topic? Um, I think that's really interesting to see how much of a correlation even bodybuilding itself, coaching itself, clothing brands within bodybuilding, how they're all really interlinked with the same ethos behind making sure that the value and the meaning is the highest point within the brand, and then everything else stems off of that and not letting that slip. And I think that's what's important, what you said about being the face of the brand and making sure that you're at all expos, you're always on the ground, you're always involved with the next drop, and how every little detail is important to both you, but also how you see the brand and how you have show the brand is represented.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think, like I said, in a world of where everyone wants to be like this, I've got this car, I've got this house, I've got this, I've got that, it's just so important to stay authentic because ultimately that's the reason why people like Samsung like are kind of the point they are now. And a lot of other like, influences and like differences, I think, but at least, I mean, like, at least Sam's in terms of the content is still the same. Do I think maybe some of the things like in terms of like the brands, I understand like at that point it's money, but like do I think at that point some of the brands he's chosen maybe are a little bit more money based? Yeah, but I can't judge him for that because that's what he wants to do. It's just sort of something personally I would do, So again, I think as long as if I say all these things now, especially out loud on podcasts and stuff, it's then my responsibility to then keep that, that ethos all the way through because you can't be saying like I'm gonna do this, and this, and then start being like a little bit more money here from buying this or like signing this person or selling this product would get me. It's just pointless. Um, and obviously, hopefully, I just hope that obviously people see that. And obviously can obviously it just obviously translates because it's great when we do the expos because we get all this feedback in person, but you don't really get too much feedback like that in terms of social media because I don't think many people will often take time out of their day to drop a comment or to drop a
Mhm.
message if they feel that way. So it's nice to obviously then have these in-person interactions, which is why I love the expo so much because I love like speaking to people, meeting people. Sometimes people we've met before, sometimes it's new people. So it's nice to kind of like build that because if I'd rather be again, it's the whole thing of like 100 man strong than 1,000 man weak. I'd rather have like that community where every time I see an expo, it's like seeing a friend again. And that's keeping the brand personal is obviously it's a very big goal of mine to try and do, no matter how things scale and whatnot.
It's all about holding yourself to that authenticity. And I think the more authentic you present yourself, the more authentic that your drops become. And almost like, I love how you share a bit more about the background of each of the drops and kind of how you give a bit more information. It's not just, oh, here's a drop. Like you said with Young LA having a drop every week or whatever. I think that's great. And I think that's amazing in terms of just driving volume out. And it makes sense because of the amount of athletes they have now and how like wide scale the company is. But at the same time, it makes each drop less valuable and each drop less meaningful. And I think knowing that every single bit about the drop you've put effort in, you've put blood, sweat, tears into, makes it so much more interesting and makes it so much more kind of heartfelt. And I think it goes back to the roots of what we were saying at the start with the whole brand meaning like father and son and unity is creating that community and it's creating that whole ethos. And that stems back to you not wanting to go more than 15, 20 athletes, making sure that all the athletes you bring on board are getting the most out of it and they're actually valuing the service that you're giving instead of it just being another big name that drives a paycheck and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can straight away you can take kind of like the last 6 months, like you got brands. Obviously, we go VQ, we go Gymshark, we go Young LA. Probably like the and Gasp is separate. I feel like Gasp kind of like they're one of the only brands that still kind of stick to their own thing. But like especially those three, you had basically like obviously everyone's doing this whole thing when they do like either an anime collab or something like, and all three of them are doing the same thing. Like I've got three Yu-Gi-Oh drops. I've got like three Pokemon drops. Like you're basically selling the exact same product, just it's like what you do, you're literally copying each other completely. Like the designs might be different, but the concept is literally the exact same. And the t-shirt, the actual t-shirts themselves are the exact same. They're just changing the graphics on them. And the one that made me laugh the most is probably when everyone did that camo print that everyone's doing recently.
Mm. Is that when they did the pumper pants with VQ?
Like the brownie camo, like the ones that looks like how like you'd see like North American like hunters wearing in the wild.
Yeah, yeah.
Even I love AJ the bits, but even MBW did it. Like you had MBW, you had DQ, you had like Gymshark and Young LA all do the exact same thing. It's like I get it, you're doing it to sell, but it's like there's so many brilliant like brains in this industry for terms of like being creative. How are you not able to create something different? It might
Mm.
be harder, but how are you not able to create something different? It's really it's I just find it funny to watch because it's something that we will never do. Like maybe at some point we'll do something like that, but maybe like in 10 years' time, I'm not doing it within the space of 2-3 months of seeing these other
Mm.
brands do these things. And I mean, I've got no idea. I've got no idea. I very highly doubt that like any other brands are even remotely watching us. But like even when we dropped our Flex Club line, which obviously the whole thing is like motorcycle club, I think like a month later, Dark Sports came out with their Harley collection. I was like, it was a bit weird. It was just very interesting. And like even like when we did our baseball jerseys, like I think a couple months later, I saw some other people doing baseball jerseys. Like you want to think that it's because you're doing these really cool things, but like I mean I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we are being watched by the bigger
Take it
brands.
on the stride. Take it on the stride. Just own
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see because obviously like there's only so many. Like the whole thing is just trying to basically just stay unique, stay in your own lane. Um, I mean, like we started preparing another drop. We've kind of like postponed that for now because we just kind of want to focus more right now on growing the brand versus like kind of creating new clothes. Because we don't want to. Again, we have a couple of concepts in the line, but nothing that to the point where we're like, okay, we need to like launch that now. We're not in a rush. We've still got. I think we're doing like eight events this year. So like we want to make sure we don't actually like run out of product by the end of the year. So this is a case of just try and like stagger these events because we got one in April, we got Universe in May. We're going to pretty much majority of all the UKFBA shows. And again, that's another thing as well, aligning ourselves obviously with brands like UKFBA. Like we've become good friends of Christian, obviously, who's now taken over, and I love what he's doing straight away. Like I wish I was competing UKFBA when he was doing everything he's doing now for them. Like it's about again aligning ourselves with people like that who are like-minded, who want to grow the sport in the right way. Which is why it was such an easy decision to be like, okay, let's get a pop-up shop at pretty much every single UKFBA show this year sorted. So yeah, I think collaborations like that are really cool. Same with MBW last year, we loved doing that. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I think like in my opinion, as a viewer, as a purchaser, whatever, I think I see so much more value out of a brand doing a collab with an athlete, like an athlete line. I think that's a lot better because you're not only showing off one of your athletes, but you're also showing that you value that athlete and you value the opinions of that athlete. Which is why I think like you were saying, the outwashed drops that every single brand are doing. I think that's how you separate it is if you do an athlete collab, like yes, everyone does athlete collabs, but the athlete collab is individual to that brand and that person. And it's no other brand has that. I think those are quite cool to change up with every so often because again, it is showing off how much you value that athlete and you value the what they bring to the table as well as what you're giving them the opportunity. Like doing a collab with an athlete, you're giving them the opportunity to shine within your brand and show it off on a deeper level. It's not just a code. It's not just putting them on your story. Like you're repping it. And I think also from an athlete's perspective, having the privilege to be able to represent a brand in terms of a collaboration with them is just like beyond like it's every athlete's dream.
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, like all of our athletes have input on our clothes. Like we will do several meetings. We'll do one big meeting at the start of when we produce like an idea. So we'll show them the like I'll just do a PowerPoint slide and basically kind of break things down. I'll show some like comparisons. I'll show them some like rough ideas what the sizing will be like. I'll show them some reference pictures and stuff. And then from there we kind of take their information. So like a lot of the stuff we changed in like even in all the drops has been stuff that not even me and my dad came up with. It's been stuff that they've come up with. So and then we'll send the tech packs in and then we'll just edit until we kind of get happy with it. I definitely would love to do like I mean even like the beanies. I remember Josh Jenkins, our first year, when we started working together, he was saying how much he loves beanies. He loved beanies. I was like, okay, well, we can make beanies. Like that's quite an easy thing to do. So he was gassed because he was like, oh, this is kind of like my product. I was like, in a way, yeah, because like you said, everyone like we should redo some beanies. I was like, that's quite an easy fix to do. Like I don't need to do anything crazy for beanies. So be able to do that. And I definitely would love to do more like stuff like that at some point. The more athletes focused stuff obviously definitely requires a lot more money. And I
Mhm,
definitely think it requires obviously that athlete having a certain amount of audience because ultimately people, as you said, they buy the especially the more athlete specific launches because they love that athlete so much, you know?
mhm,
So I feel like you've got to have quite a lot of following, a lot of personality to be able to sell those things. I mean, like it's like the Dave Train stuff. Like I'm sure he sold fucking so much of that because he again has such a large following on like TikTok
mhm.
and Instagram. So definitely can see those sort of things coming down the line for sure. It'll be really cool to see. I mean, I'll definitely have to like to change some things because those boys are crazy. Honestly, our guys. I don't even want to know what the sort of stuff they come up with. So I'm sure they'll need a little bit of help at points. But it'd be cool to see. Um,
You can't have that. You can't have that.
I don't trust Danny to not put something offensive on a hoodie or something. I don't know.
Just a t-shirt with two boobs.
It's more and more, and he's gonna play into his autism a bit too much there. So yeah, you'll put like Team Tism on the shirt or something, and I'll be like, I can't run that. As much as I'd love to.
Trinitytism,
Yeah, I would love to do that. I'd find that incredible, but unfortunately, I don't think that
woke
will fly.
generation won't
No,
last. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's fine.
So give me a little bit more insight into like when you're doing a drop, when you're doing a new kind of design for a drop. How does that process begin? And talk to me kind of the steps behind doing a drop.
So yeah, I mean, we've already kind of highlighted quite a lot of it, but
Mhm,
usually we'll start with a meeting between me and my dad, whether it be in person. So my dad works in Saudi, so he works and lives in Saudi. So I'll see him like 5, 6 times a year. So usually it'll either be on a phone call, like a FaceTime, or it'll be in person if he's here. So like the Flex Club line, we came up with that in. I mean, this will show you how long it took to actually get it like actually fully off the line. We started designing that in would have been think it was January 2025, and then ended up coming out in November. Um, and we were like, he was back for Christmas, and we literally we kind of like came up with the start of it. Like that's when we came up with like the name. We came up with kind of like a basic kind of like rough idea of what we wanted to do then. So yeah, so the start of that, we'll do like presentations. As I said, we build the presentation up, and once we get to a point we're happy, we then take it to athletes, hop on a call with them, try and get them to all shut the fuck up so I can explain what's going on. Because like honestly, it's incredible when we get together. Like it's pure electric, but like just trying to have a serious conversation, get actually stuff done, it just doesn't work. So then yeah, we'll go back and forth. I'll unmute people to let them speak at points to like give their feedback. And then eventually we kind of get to a point after around like an hour and a half of just like straight waffle. We'll finish one product and then we go, okay, great, next one. So then yeah, and then from there we'll just send it to the I'll send a usually like the presentation plus a recording of me kind of breaking things down, because that was something we learned as well with these tech packs. The people like it's not that they struggle understanding English, like they speak English great, but sometimes like it's just better to like than sending an email, just like actually talk through kind of like how things look and stuff, because I feel like there's only so much you can do in terms of like an email or like a written message. So I'll send them
Hmm.
usually a PowerPoint video presentation of me kind of actually breaking it down and explaining things. And that was something that I did the last, which made a big difference in terms of skipping a lot of errors and stuff. And from there, then we'll send to them. They'll send back version one, and then it will be a case of literally it will be however many versions back and forth. And then eventually, when we get to a point we're happy, we'll get a sample through. And then from there, obviously, we'll make one more adjustment, and then there we go. Because we don't want to do too many samples, because that's a really long process. It's also an
Hmm.
expensive process. So
Yeah.
for something that a lot of people won't realize is that when you buy a sample, it's actually like the most expensive way to buy I was like to get like any part of the process done, because you'll do is you'll end up spending a lot. Like when you buy in bulk, obviously it makes things cheap. So when you buy a singular product, it like I mean like sometimes I think we've spent like $100 on a single sample, you know,
Jeez.
like, and like, but you'll sell that product for like whatever, like 50, £60, but you're
Hmm.
like, by the time you actually finish designing a product, when you buy it in bulk, it'll end up costing you like it'll cost you like under a fifth of what of what you actually spent for the sample. So it's a very expensive process. So if you want to do samples, you want to try and keep samples to a minimum. So we've done two samples for the first drop, because again that's when we were learning a lot about when to be patient, when to speed things up. Um, so we did two rounds of samples for that, but then obviously the rest has all been one, just one, and then just go. So just trying to get those tech packs as accurate from the start, so when you get the sample, we're happy. I think there's only been like two or three times where we've got the sample and we've been happy straight away. Otherwise, we usually do make changes. So yeah, and in the case of once their tech pack's logged in, we're like, great, send it to our manufacturer again, and then the process starts. 8 weeks of production, and then if it's shipping by sea, it'll take up to 8 weeks. Usually, what we've had to do is we've usually had to, because sometimes the process is taking us so long. We always try and get a new drop for when we have these expos, just kind
Hmm.
of like premiere, like debut it. And we've had to like fork out quite a chunk of change to try and get like 20-30% of it shipped by air first, just so we have something with us to take. But it's just so expensive. Like people don't realize how
Yeah.
expensive. Like it'll end up costing you like £6 per product to airship.
Jeez.
So if you're
Yeah.
and if again just to give kind of some ideas for people who don't know the kind of like how it works is like, oh, okay, someone's trying to call me. No, goodbye. I don't know how they got through my do not disturb. That's crazy. Um, yeah. So it will then if for yeah. So for MOQ, so MOQ is your minimum order quantity. A very low MOQ is like 75 to 100 per piece. And when I mean per piece, I mean by like singular color of a product. So for these zip ups, it will be 75 to 100 per just this color, and you're paying £6 per item to ship. And let's say you do five products at 100 a piece, so it's 500 times six. So if you were to airship the whole thing,
It's costing 3 grand. Yeah.
so much money. So
Yeah.
you have to, but again, this is where you have to be as like careful and accurate with how you spend your money and knowing when to be patient, when to pull. So yeah, the goal will be trying to get ahead of drops going forward, so we can just just see ship them on, because you just save so much money, and that's yeah, and
The
then they arrive and we're here.
Yeah, sick. Obviously, the design and stuff like that is quite, it's not necessarily easy to do, but it's very easy to tweak and make sure it's the way that you want it to be. Would you say that the hardest part is making sure the fabric and the quality of the material is exactly how you want it to be? Because obviously with your pieces of line, like you've got like the heavy waffle and those kind of different materials which are really enjoyable and freely moving, especially when you're training. Would you say that's kind of the most important for you?
Um, you know what? There's been times where like we've actually like, I mean, there's been a couple of products. So the waffle originally when we got the sample, it was a one-sided waffle. So it was one a
Hmm.
waffle on one side, and then had like a very thin layer of I don't know whatever it was on the other side. And it just kind of it made it so much stiffer. And we were like, again, that was like the time we were like, okay, well, we didn't even know that. We thought it was just gonna be double sided and arrive that way. So we had to change that. So we said, can we make this double sided? The joggers and the hoodies with the kind of like that super soft material on the inside that we got, that was unintentional. That was a misunderstanding between us and again the designer. That was complete. We did not intend to make them that soft. It was a complete mistake. And then we arrived, and at first we were unsure, but then we were like, actually, no, this is really nice, and I don't. This is like the softest, comfiest pair of like hoodie and joggers I've ever owned.
Go
So again,
sleep in this all night long.
exactly. So it's just like sometimes like unintentional mistakes ended up working out in that respect. And then with the waffle, we were like, no, we want that. We want that double sided. Even like with the zip ups. So originally they were like obviously where we've got like the exposed fraying, like kind of like distressed look on here. They had them like
Hmm.
on the shoulders. And we were like unsure about them. But the one that was the worst was when we had the Flex Club joggers arrive. They also have distress because they distressed it down the crotch line,
Oh,
which made it look. I don't know how PG your podcast is, but it did not look good. It had and up your butt crack as well. So it just looked like it looked so. It were like what like that was not what that wasn't like visually. If you look on the actual tech packs because it comes with a picture as well. Um, actually, I'll do even better when I'll get it up. You can see literally it just you're like where's that on there? But obviously like that's where you have to communicate like can you please remove this because. But again, at that point, we've already sent it to the manufacturer, and she's Chinese. And again, the English is only so good, so you have to really be specific, because otherwise you can get yourself in a ton of trouble. Um, let's see if I could find just any old tech pack, and then let's see here. Here we go.
what is it? What is a tech pack? Obviously, you've spoken a lot about it. What actually is a tech pack? I know you're
So a
going to
tech
show it
pack
to me,
is
but
Yeah, so a tech pack will be what you send to your manufacturer, and that will break down colors, um, visual designs, measurements, everything. So uh here we go. So like this is what we sent. But like if you look, it's only here what this point when you zoom in, can you see there's this little fraying line, but when you
hmm
zoom out, you don't see that. But obviously when it arrived,
yeah,
it was exaggerated. So we were like, whoa. And then if I so that would be like so yeah, the first part like for ours, like the first five there's only so much I can show secrets. There's the first five parts are like all colors. Just basically breaking down. It's like for example, if we were to do like a black and red version of the joggers, the ones we just released, they will look like this. So that kind of be the first part. Then after the cut, like the breakdown of all the colors, it then goes down into basically measurements. So for joggers, it's you got front rise, which is basically the part between the waistband again down to like the middle stitching down the middle. Then you'll have the out seam, which is the leg length, and then you'll have the waist. So that's how you set your initial three bases for your measurements, and then from there they get super specific like this.
yeah,
So again,
yeah,
and that's where you can adjust literally to the millimeter how things are fitting and so on and so forth. And then from there, it kind of goes down. You kind of like it basically will like it will label different parts of the jogger and be like, so for example, for the waistband, what style of waistband, for the stitching, what style of stitching, because there's different styles of stitching you can do. Like again, these are all things that we like had to like learn on the run. Um, and then even just stuff like your like the waistband string. Do you want soft ends? Do you want metal tips? Like you get there's so much you can design with these, and you can be as in depth as you want to be, but you can only be that accurate and in depth if you pay for it. Like if you want cheap tech packs to get you over the line, fine. But you probably won't be able to go to that level of detail and customization if you weren't to if you didn't spend the money.
yeah, 100%. So let's take a step away from Trinity for a second. Obviously, it was mainly inspired within your prep. So talk to me a little bit more about your bodybuilding journey.
So I mean, how I got into bodybuilding was actually American football. So I played American football growing up. My dad's Canadian and my mom's South African. So for me, growing up, like American football was a lot more normal than it probably is for the average person living in the UK.
Hmm.
So start playing, and then I kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to get bigger, faster, stronger because I was a stick. I was like 70 kilos, at 6 foot. So like I was literally like, well, actually I was like 60
Twig.
kilos at that point. Yeah, I was like twig. And then from there, kind of like I just got more and more into bodybuilding. Started watching kind of the YouTube and stuff, and like just watching like Christian Guzman and like always like all these kind of like David Lade, like all these videos and stuff. So I do all my training was kind of actually was bodybuilding, like powerlifting, the power building style training everyone was kind of doing around that period of time. Steve Cook, like all those sort of people.
Hmm.
Just because like I just need to get bigger. And then I ended up falling more in love with that than I was with American football because with American football, it's like I'm relying on other people for my success as a because obviously like I could have a great performance, but my team could still lose, which I found absolutely infuriating. So like I was like, I want to be in a position where like everything like the result of what like happens to me is completely down to me, no one else's fault. Obviously, it could be my coach, but ultimately, like it's still really kind of down to me. Um, and then from there, I kind of like I stopped playing American football when I was 19, and that's where I kind of transitioned to okay, I'm just gonna start probably bodybuilding. So I hired Josh Bridgman as my first coach. So I
Nice.
worked with him kind of like on and off the first like would have been a year and a bit because we started working together and COVID hit. So we stopped working together because obviously no one has any money or anything. So I just didn't so
Hmm.
I stopped coaching and then we came out of lockdown, started working with him again, and then we went into my first prep, did men's physique. Um, and then that's kind of like where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like I really enjoy this. Um, then kind of went to like the classic, natty off season where you take a year out and then come back the year after. So took the year out. I coached myself through pretty much that whole off season. And then about 2 months, 3 months before I started prep, I started working at AJ Morris.
Nice.
And then we did my first prep with him, my second season. Originally was supposed to be in men's physique, and then literally we got like 12 weeks in. And we were like men's like my body because I wanted to do the classic physique as well. So I'll do men's physique, classic physique. My body was just suiting classic physique shot so much more.
Hmm.
Even though I did my whole off season focusing on being men's physique, so I was doing one leg day a week. I like my just the shape was just much suited to doing that. So we ended up sacking that off, and then we did junior bodybuilding and a classic physique. And then like I mean, I hurt myself for the start preps. I made a very hard prep because I had a really bad lower back injury. So I couldn't train even like the last 3 months. Really, I couldn't even train legs properly. Like I was doing leg extensions, squats for quads. That was it. Couldn't do seat hamstring curls. Literally nothing. So it was terrible. Uh,
Jeez.
so that made it very hard when I've obviously only been prepping. Well, I've been getting ready for a men's physique show. So I was like, I haven't got much leg. I can't afford to lose any more leg.
I got no legs, no legs.
Exactly. So I was like, I just got to get through this. So yeah, then did first show, came second in a BMBF qualifier. Then we did in junior bodybuilding. Then we did Heart of England, came second in junior bodybuilding again, but then I won the men's open classic show. So that was quite cool being a junior winning, a men's
Yeah.
classic open. So I was obviously kind of where I was like, okay, this is definitely like my kind of category. Because if I could beat grown ass men at this and I'm a junior, then I
Mm.
must be all right. And then we did BMBF British finals, came third at British finals. And then I did the UK FBA finals, and then I came. Obviously, they didn't play that time. They went placing after like fourth, fifth, but
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
kind of like in the middle of the second call out, so I was probably around like 6, 7, in a men's open international final. So again, I was like, considering I haven't even been training legs, this is not too bad. Um, and I kind of knew at the start of that season, I was like, okay, if I have a good season, I'll probably go assisted. Oh, that's why I was like, I'll probably do that. Um, and then yeah, so finish prep and then went assisted. I self coached myself because I was like, the next coach I hire, I wanted to be my coach for the rest of my career, ideally. Because again, I'm someone as you can probably tell, I don't like doing short term things. I want to build a very like trustworthy relationship.
100%.
So kind of I was like, my first choice ended up being the coach I went with, which is Ben Chow. If you know who Ben Chow is. So
Rings a bell.
yeah, so he's on the Hostile podcast, or he does it with like Phil
Yeah,
Adams.
yeah,
Yeah, he was like best friends with Luke Sandow. He coached Neil Curry, Hunter Labrada. So obviously some pretty like very, very big names. Um, I knew in February they were doing the in-person podcast in Muscleworks Orpington. So funny enough, Cam was me with that as well. So I was like, okay, we'll go watch the podcast and have a conversation in person, because I was like, if I'm going to work with someone who's a bit more of a higher name level coach, especially kind of like internationally, I want to make sure that they want to work with me because they want to work with me, not just because I want to be a paycheck. I was like, I refuse to be a paycheck. So the conversation we had was very good. He was very interested in like coaching me. I said, look, I'm not in a position to start about to afford it just yet. Just because he was obviously more expensive, being obviously such a high level coach. I was like, I'll continue to like just do things myself. And he said, he's like, take my number, whatever you need up until we start, just let me know and I'll help. So he basically helped me for free for 6 months anyway. So that's how obviously he's someone's invested and obviously wanting to coach you.
yeah.
Yeah, then we worked together for a long time. So that was 2024 February was when we had the conversation. So yeah, so basically 2 years ago now. And then yeah, he's coached me ever since. So we've been working together for a long time going into the first show, which obviously is a coach's dream, because last thing you want is like 2 weeks out, can you coach me? It's like, well, not really. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to help. So
Can
yeah,
you
we
take
work.
me through my peak week?
Yeah, it's
Do
like,
nothing, eat loads.
exactly. Do you know my body? No, not at all, mate. So yeah, so that's kind of how it worked out. And then we did a diet last year. Which yeah, I mean, I was in a gaining phase for 15 months straight, which was savage. It was
Fair
horrible.
play.
Yeah, I went up. I went from like low 160s up to 220. So I went up like 60 pounds in that time. So obviously he's quite controlled over that whole period of time. And like I never pushed gear at like, or not really much at all. Like, I mean, people in the Trinity group chat still call me natural, for fuck's sake. So tell you what, that was to tell you I don't know what does. So yeah, and then now we are here basically another prep. First time actually going into obviously kind of the really competitive ranks, because we'll do
Sick.
two PCA shows and I'll do one two bro show. Me and Harry do a lot of the same shows this year, which would be fun as well, but
Cool.
unfortunately not in the same high category. So we're just gonna hope we got to meet in the overall, and then we'll headbutt each other.
Yeah, because Harry's a little short boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not that short, but yeah, he's not tall.
I loved Cameron's Instagram yesterday showing off. I think it was yesterday or the day before, showing off
With his
Harry's new camera,
bro spawn
A7.
out. Yeah. So it's typical, isn't it?
That's what I said to Cam. I was like, typical Harry. There's no in between with him. It's all or nothing.
No, yeah, and that's one reason we signed him. I love Harry. Um, he works so hard, and he does get very much rewarded for it. Like, I mean, he helped us so much at the expos. Like when we did the MBW and the PCA, he drove up with us. He stayed with us. He helped us set up the booths. He was taking payments. Like he was an absolute lifesaver those 2 weekends. So and it was cool because it was the first, like I'd trained with Harry in the summer before we signed him, because I was kind of he didn't know it, but I was kind of secretly interviewing him. Again, I wanted to know more about him. So
Yeah,
yeah, and then
same.
and it was cool to then do, obviously, like we drove all the way obviously to Rotherham and all the way to Telford together. So obviously you spend a lot of hours in the car with someone, you learn a lot about them. So yeah, so it was cool to be able to like spend more time with him and build more of a like a relationship with him. And obviously he lives very close to well, yeah, very close to us. So it made it very obviously easy for us to then obviously kind of like develop more of a relationship, obviously, and he's very trustworthy, and I've got enough good words to say about Harry.
Sick. Well, on that note, we'll leave it there. Um, Josh MillerHall, everyone. I very much appreciated you taking your time and jumping on with me and speaking a little bit about Trinity. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me. I think it depends what you're looking for. It's by Trinity. It's Trinity Lifting Apparel. I believe is the full thing. I think. And then if not, it's josh.millerhall, I think, on Instagram. And then obviously, if you want to go to trinityliftingapparel.com, you can use any of the boys' codes. I haven't got codes to promote myself, but you can use any of their codes in there. And then yeah, I've got YouTube where we do more behind the scenes of the Trinity stuff and also my own personal stuff. So yeah, so I'm kind of like I'm integrated very much into the brand. So me and the brand are the same thing. So either follow the brand or follow me. Either way, you'll be supporting me in some way, shape, or form. So I highly appreciate that.
Awesome. And what can people expect in the next, let's say, year or so?
Next year, 1 to 2 drops, hopefully, if all things go well. As at 8 expos slash pop up shops. Hopefully, maybe even something of our own. Hopefully, maybe something late in the year where we do something ourselves at a gym. Um,
Cool.
yeah, basically, the more success we get, the more we're going to put straight back into creating fun opportunities for our athletes, for our, I don't want to call them fans. I think it's such a cringy way of describing it, for our customers, for
They are fans, though. They are
yeah,
loyal fans.
I don't want to say fans because I've got a whole thing of like we are all equal. Just some people have got more followers on Instagram than others. So yeah, so come by obviously to any of these, say hello. We're very friendly. We're very offensive at points, but you just have to kind of live with that because we're very much, as I said, unapologetically ourselves.
The veritism, the Trinitytism.
Yes, exactly. Very strong.
Lovely. Again, thank you for joining me. If you have listened for this long and you've made it all the way to the end, well, I apologize for your ears. But also, thank you very much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed anything or if you learned anything new about Trinity. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next one.
See
Peace
you
out,
later.
guys.